Click the three dots.
Yeah,
there we go.
It's going.
It's not in, it is actually not in my UI.
It's going. I got it.
It says it started.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, everyone. The October edition of the UR Unit Call covering the Ignite 2020 updates. My name is Bob Ballard. I'm the Principal Cloud Strategist here for Planet Technologies. I'd like to welcome the UR Unit team. It's myself, Nia Giles, George Scott, Ken Nubler, Scott Dowling, and the new addition, which is actually not on the slide yet, to the team, Matt Nevins, a senior cloud architect that's come over to join the cloud strategist team. We're very excited to have Matt, and I'm sure we'll see updates from him in future presentations as well. We're all sort of kept in line by Mary Tucker, who obviously we just heard making sure I was recording the session, and it's all under the leadership and guidance of our Vice President, Steve Winter. So don't forget, as part of the UR Unit service, and all the folks on this call are UR Unit customers, you know, our most strategic customers here at Planet, you have the ability to email the Cloud Strategist team with your questions and concerns. Obviously, if you're already working with us on an active project, feel free to reach out to who you're working with on your project or the Cloud Strategist who you're working with all the time. But for those customers that don't have anything actively going on with us, and you're not sure who to contact, you can always reach out to YouAlreadyOwnIt at go-planet.com and sort of, you know, give an inquiry on what you should do around a particular topic, or looking for some guidance, or you'd like to hop on the phone with us. We're happy to help, and we look to get a response back to you within 24 hours, even if it's just to say, hey, we're looking into it and we'll get back with you shortly. That's our service level agreement to you as a UR customer. So as an agenda today, so we're doing something different this month, right? So normally this is one session that we have on the fourth Thursday of every month. A couple things interesting this month, because the month started on the 1st. The fourth Thursday is earlier than normal this month. So it feels like we're a little earlier in the month than normal. But then on top of that, we're actually going to have a follow-up session on next Thursday as well, that I think many of you already have invites to as well. That's going to drill down in, there was such a breadth of topics here. We're focused on modern workplace, the M365 and business application side today, and then more around security and Azure, et cetera, on the session next week. So super excited. There was just too much to cram into a single session. So sit tight, button up, and get ready for your updates. With that, Ken, I'm going to turn it over to you. I think you're going to ask me to drive, right? So I'll be listening for your cues.
Slide, I guess.
Okay, there you go.
Thanks, everybody. Ken Nubler here, cloud strategist, former state employee of 30 years. So a lot of these things we're going to talk about today are just so exciting, because I've seen the technology change over the years. And I'm going to just drop a bomb first off, right off the bat. Robotic process automation. About this, but it is a very cool technology that Microsoft is starting to build into their product line. You've probably already heard of Microsoft Power Automate. Well, Power Automate Desktop is a new license capability that allows you to automate Windows-based tasks across both the desktop and web applications. So what does that mean? It means that for your mundane tasks that are very labor intensive, even complex tasks, if you have to go out to different systems and do repetitive type of things over and over again, robotic process automation, or RPA, is definitely the tool that you want to take a look at. I have a great YouTube video that I'm going to put in the chat window at the end, so you can take a look at really what the capabilities are that you can do with it. It's now in public preview, and really what it does is it expands on the Power Automate licensing capabilities, and it allows you to basically do everything from search for images on the screen, do scrapes of data from PDFs, work from different kinds of documents and folders, and even send emails and connect up to different systems. Like I said, it's not just your Windows-based apps, it's also SaaS services, so it's the ability to put all this together, automate the process, and take that mundane task capability out of your hands for better business workflow. So that's the first item. I'm sorry I started off with such a crazy topic, but RPA is definitely something to take a look at, and I'll put a link in the window, in the chat window at the very end. The next item Power BI Premium per user. This is exciting because as folks who have been exploring analytics, obviously people know that that can be bought per Power BI standard can be, or Pro can be purchased per user today. But if you really wanted the capabilities of Premium, you had to buy an enterprise type of capability with a minimum monthly charge. Well, what Microsoft is now doing is they're allowing it to be purchased on a per user basis. So things like if certain users need some of the premium capabilities like paginated reports, data workflow, AI for very specific users, now that it's an economical solution for you to all do that. I believe this is going to be available starting in November, that new license type, but it may not be, well, I'm hearing between November and spring. So I don't have a better idea at this point of when it's going to be available, but it is coming. So if you're evaluating Premium and you're not ready to take that big step yet, it might be worth trying this out for a couple folks first for your advanced users who need those advanced capabilities. On the Power BI topic, deployment pipelines is another thing that's going to be coming available. And what deployment pipelines are for people who are doing life cycle of organizational content. So if you have analytic content that you want to, have a procedural way of getting that content from a development standpoint to production, it's definitely something to look at. The deployment pipelines or workspaces, just like instances, or you have your sandbox, your production instances. It's going through that whole life cycle of producing your content for analytics in a more professional way. So that's coming. Those are the two big items about Power BI and RPA. The next item, Project Oakdale. If you're like, what the heck is Project Oakdale? Well, it's the service formerly known as DataFlex. If you read my blog, definitely if you haven't read my blog, take a look at that. But Project Oakdale is Microsoft's way of providing the ability to integrate the Power Platform into Teams. This is huge, right? So it also gives you access to things like the CDS, Common Data Service for relationship data. You used to have to buy a license to do that. Now there are caveats, and I won't go into details because my blog goes all into details. So definitely take a look at that. Another thing about Project Oakdale that is here now available is Nia Giles from our strategist team also wrote a blog on AI Builder and how it can be integrated into Project Oakdale as well as the Power Platform. So definitely take a look at that as well. I can tell you we've already started using it internally. In fact, I've even taken the HR bot tutorial. So once you start seeing this show up in your tenant, if you want to start looking at things like how do Power Virtual Agents work inside, built right in natively into Teams, you can build an HR bot just by following the tutorial. Very user-friendly in a matter of about 20 minutes. So definitely take a look at the capabilities of Project Oakdale. I don't know what they're going to change the name to. I have no idea, but they're calling it Project Oakdale for now. And then on the topic of Power Platform, there's a new Power Teams coming to do right into Teams with easy-to-use templates. There's going to be some more approval process capabilities in Teams with Power Automate. And then lastly, Power Virtual Agents. I mentioned it briefly. Power Virtual Agents right inside of Teams are very powerful, and they're now able to actually look at who's sending the chats in and from an account standpoint and actually target the responses based on attributes from that user's AD account. So really cool stuff. So like, let's say the example that Microsoft gives is, let's say there's somebody asking for HR content. Well, it could tell what plan they're in and send them specific information based on the plan or based on the region that they're in on the company that gets a certain plan. So really interesting stuff coming up with the Teams integration with Power Platform integrated together as one Teams as a platform capability. Two really big announcements about Power Platform as well. And it's really more about making the Power Platform a more mature platform from a development standpoint. And so Azure API connectors will be available. They're in public preview right now. So if you want to start doing things, getting access to some of those Azure APIs and for Power Platform, that is now available with the Power Platform. That opens up a lot of capabilities. And then finally, GitHub integration with the Power Platform. So this was kind of missing, if you're into SDLC, software development lifecycle, and you really want to, manage the whole software lifecycle in Power Platform, that is now available in GitHub integration. And it's definitely something to take a look at. As many of you know, TFS is going away and GitHub is the new way of managing your instances, managing your life cycles. And so by having that now integrated natively or integrating into Power Platform is something that people are taking a whole lot more seriously for production level work and for professional developers. Another huge announcement, Dynamics Azure Communication Services. Now, they're two totally different services, but what they're doing is Azure Communication Services is getting connected to Dynamics. And what does this mean, right? So what this means is in the past, you used to have to develop by hand, or you have to really customize some third-party voice solution into Dynamics if you wanted to do things like call center management or call center capabilities. Well, Azure Communication Services is available now. The APIs are there to start working with that, and it will be available. They're saying the preview is in October, and this will now support not only voice services, but also things like SMS, texting, chatting, omni-channel type of capabilities. This is something that Dynamics was missing in the past, and you had to go to a third party and build it custom in the past. What this means is they're using the same team's backbone of communication services and building it right into Dynamics, or have the ability to build it right into Dynamics for very specific use cases like call center and multi-channel type of experiences. So something to take a look at there if you're into Dynamics. We mentioned, okay, next slide, please, Bob. We mentioned the developer updates already, I jumped ahead by accident there. On the Microsoft 365 updates, two very specific ones with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. The two big announcements there are Microsoft Tunnel. It's a remote access solution integrated into Microsoft Endpoint Manager and enables iOS and Android devices to connect to on-premises apps and resources on the go. So it basically provides a tunnel, a VPN, and split tunnel capabilities to tie conditional access into your devices and to your apps, and specific policies when conditional access to your network. So very, very helpful for tying, or it's another option for VPN for your devices, and it'll be tied into Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Another Microsoft Endpoint Manager capability, and this is huge, is the ability to manage virtual endpoints, WVD, in your same Microsoft Endpoint Manager for your on-premise systems as well. So being able to use Microsoft Endpoint Manager for not only your on-premise equipment, but as well as a WVD and even VDI solutions is going to be available. And that's in public preview at the end of this year. So it's still a little bit more time to wait on that one, but it'll be huge because in the past, if you were doing WVD, there was no centralized place to manage those WVD endpoints.
And just in case you're overwhelmed by the acronym alphabet soup, WVD is Windows Virtual Desktop, which is Microsoft's native Azure-based virtual desktop solution. So,
thanks. So big information here on Microsoft Stream. If you're not familiar with Stream, Stream is the video capabilities, the video recording capabilities in Teams. If you're like me, you've probably been very frustrated in the past when recording something and not being able to share it with external users, even though they were in the same meeting as you. So what this is going to be doing moving forward is Stream is going to be natively integrated into Microsoft 365, specifically into OneDrive. So what that means now is you'll have the same security, same sharing capabilities to share that file with the internal as well as external participants based on the same security profile that you've already set up for OneDrive. We have done a really nice announcement and discussion about the rollout of this because there were some caveats in the beginning. Our Evolve team did this, and I will put the link in the chat window as soon as I'm done talking. And I'll share what the current status is of this rollout. You can force it right now if you want with PowerShell, if you want it to force the saving of the recording to OneDrive, otherwise it's still going to Stream. What we understand about this change is that and they didn't say when, but sometime in next year, they will force the saving of Stream files to OneDrive. So if your agency has not rolled out OneDrive, this is another reason to roll out OneDrive. And again, I will share that video with you in the chat window, in the chat section. There's some new calling features coming out to Microsoft Teams later this year. Collaborative calling will enable customers to connect to a call queue. So this imagine this now, right? Call queues plus Dynamics plus Azure Communication Services. It's what you've always wanted, right? So the ability to actually work call queues within a channel inside of Teams is coming. I don't have a timeline on that, but I would assume it's by the end of the year. There should be some more information on the links if you looked at the newsletter information about timing on that one. But it basically will allow IT admins to quickly connect call queues to specific channels, and team owners can manage those settings. So this is an ideal solution for somebody using or in a help desk environment or HR hotline type of situation. And we're looking forward to this one. And I'll come back to that one in a second because we got another announcement, that I'll talk about. Another popular meeting features that are coming up is the ability to do live captions and transcriptions and recordings between and in the Teams. At the end of the Teams, the recordings will be saved right in the chat window. So, you know, this kind of goes back to the whole life cycle of a team, of a meeting, right? You've got your meetings are not meant to be just one-time deals, right? So you've got your planning part of the meeting, you've got your during the session part of the meeting, and then you've got your post meeting. And so it's Microsoft is promoting this whole life cycle of a team meeting, and this kind of supports that all your meeting content will be in the actual meeting at the end of the call, including your transcripts. You won't have to go to stream anymore like you did in the past to get those transcripts. It'll be all done on the fly for every call. Some great stuff coming. Some more enhancements coming to Teams. Team templates, I think I mentioned this last time, and I mentioned it certainly in my blog if you haven't seen that. But team templates are a predefined set of channels, tabs, apps, all the capabilities, the way you package and build a team. Traditionally, it had been built by scratch, right? So you have to, you know, every team is built from a unique standpoint. What this is allowing now with team templates is the ability for IT admins to come up with groups of users saying, this is the HR team, and anybody who's inside that group gets this exact same setup. And so it's a way of pre-building teams to roll out specific apps to specific groups of users, so that they don't have to be all homegrown, done by the IT, the owner of the team, right? This is more of a centralized push of team templates out to groups of people. So this is definitely something that's coming. And one thing that's really important that this really helps promote is a security posture, because this will allow the central IT to create these teams in advance and allow them to be pre-populated with certain security roles and certain security capabilities for what that team's able to do. So you won't leave it up to the person who's actually creating the team as a team owner. It's actually being done centrally from the central IT perspective. Really incredible. So for agencies that were larger than customers larger than 5,000, it was difficult to have a meeting larger than that. We got some things coming up here that the size of a team will now be allowed to grow up to 25,000 members in one team. So that's coming, and that's pretty exciting. So that might have been something that you weren't able to do in the past due to limitations of the product line. Some things like if you've seen Together Mode yet, Together Mode will allow presenters to see and select a scene from a gallery as a default scene for all meetings attendees. So that may be of interest to you or may not be, but let's say you're a corporation and you want to have everybody be forced to use the same background. Perfect example how you could do that, so you can administer that background and make sure people aren't changing it on you. Together Mode will also be enhanced with features of machine learning to center people in their seats, right? So if you've seen the basketball games and you've seen people there, some of their heads may be big, some of them may be small. This solves the big head problem where people are so close to the camera that this giant head is sitting in a seat. That will be fixed through artificial intelligence and machine learning to fix some of those things coming up. So that'll make everybody the same size and put them in the center of those seats. Let's see here. another big thing, and if you attended any of the Ignite sessions, you probably saw the fact that they were taking an overlay of the video, the person's camera, over the slideshow. Well, I thought at first that was a fancy, back-end production system doing that, but that is actually coming out, video feed transposed onto the foreground. The content being presented on the screen is something that's coming, and we're all excited about that. That used to, for those video people out there, and I know a lot of you probably started off with video, that used to require a lot of production equipment on the back end to make possible, and it's going to be a nice feature once that's available. We talked a little bit about team lifecycle, about before, during, and after, about the fact that there'll be a recap of the meeting recording at the end of their sessions, the transcript, the chat, the files will all be there at the end of the sessions. This helps teams stay on track and keep their work moving forward after the meeting is over, so they can go back and see all that content in one place. The next 3 items, I think these are huge, and this is finally the nail in the coffin for WebEx and GoToMeeting, to be honest with you, from my perspective. When I was in North Carolina, we constantly heard about when are breakout rooms coming? When are we going to be able to support conferences over 1,000? When are we going to be able to have attendee registration? Those 3 capabilities are why people are holding on to WebEx and holding on to GoToMeeting. Those capabilities are coming in the next, I think it's by the end of the year, end of the calendar year, yes. And breakout rooms will be allowed to, the facilitator or the meeting owner of the group will be allowed to facilitate sessions and go between the different breakout rooms, make announcements to all breakout rooms, and then close the rooms and make everybody return back to the main meeting. Supporting up to 1,000 people in one conference, that's with full control. So you're going to have to pay attention to, hot mics and things like that, because that'll have 2-way audio and video. But that'll be a capability, as well as 20,000 participants in a view-only call. So those 2 features specifically, the 1,000 capability and the 20,000 participant in view-only mode, will require a different license. They're going to call it the Advanced Communications Plan. I have not seen what that looks like. I have no idea what the cost is yet, but they're telling us that those 2 specific capabilities, the 1,000 full feature and the 20,000 specifically for a view-only mode, will be in a different license type, and we'll just have to see what that looks like to see if there's still sense to move away from.
Just one quick point on that, Ken.
Sure.
If it follows any of the other kind of guidance around Teams, only the organizer of those calls will require that license.
Yeah.
So the great news is, look, if you have a 10,000 person or a 3,000 person organization, right, you're not going to need 3,000 of these, right? You probably need 10. Or whoever it is that might be having, whatever the number of folks are that would need to have meetings that have these kinds of experiences, it's usually a pretty limited group. And so therefore, I don't think there's going to be an enormous cost associated with it. But it's a piece of capability that a lot of people have been asking for in large organizations, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. One additional thing about attendee registration capabilities, it'll work with automated emails, so it'll make it easier to manage the the participant attendance, as well as give you a view into reporting dashboards after the meeting to help understand the attendee engagement. So they'll give you some reporting statistics. I know that was missing in the past, about when people left, when people joined, that kind of stuff, at least on a easy to get access to basis. So the attendee registration capabilities will give you that ability. Microsoft announced more than 20 new partner apps coming this October, and specifically what I wanted to bring up here was ServiceNow. ServiceNow is probably one of the most predominant service desk type ticketing systems that there is out there. It's more than just that, though. It's a whole development platform. But I know a lot of state agencies and a lot of customers of ours use ServiceNow. Again, this is what I was going to come back to. You got ServiceNow, you got call queues and Teams, you've got Dynamics and Azure Communication Services all coming together on Teams as a platform. I think it's going to be a very, very powerful solution for folks who want to go in that direction and try to centralize everything onto the Teams platform. Finally, the new home site app. This is a capability of bringing your SharePoint home site as an intranet site directly into Teams natively. It gives your employees a gateway to your organization's intranet. and you'll be able to customize the naming, the branding, the color of the actual icon. And so it's going to be a nice feature. People have always kind of done things different ways to get their intranet into Teams. This will be more of a native experience. So this will help bridge that gap. People won't even know about SharePoint, or probably won't even need to go to SharePoint once this gets in there, because you'll have your home intranet page right there in Teams, and you'll be able to navigate right through there. So that's really a quick overview of all the things, well, the things that I thought were worth mentioning. There's certainly a whole lot more coming. So definitely take a look at the newsletter that was sent out. I just picked on the highlights that I thought that you folks would all want to see. Oh, I didn't mention Adobe eSign. Adobe is another one of these apps that is being supported now. So very powerful capabilities, so from approvals and Teams as a platform. If you're going to start building your work processes into Teams as a platform, Adobe eSign will be available if you have a subscription to Adobe eSign to be able to do digital signature in Teams as a platform. Sorry, I missed that one. And lastly, I didn't put these on the screen, but there's a couple other things. The ability to create tasks from chats and channels, that'll be coming very soon. You'll be able to quickly create tasks right from any Teams chat or channel conversation without having to switch apps or windows. So you'll be able to select more options on a team message and choose create task and track that in the tasks app. So the whole task management capability is definitely being enhanced, and it'll be more centralized in your team as well. With that, I'll go ahead and open it up to questions, or we can want to open up to questions, Bob, or?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Are there any questions out there? Don't be shy.
I'll say, so getting up, so since we have extra time, I'll bring these other items up real quickly as well, which are some new Teams rooms capabilities are coming. So in the past, room systems were not as, I know the Cisco line of capabilities was very integrated, specifically in the area of like walking into a room, being able to cast your device onto the system. Those things are coming. It's all part of Microsoft's social distancing capabilities in their room systems. So things like touchless controls, using things like support for Cortana, voice assistants for walking into rooms, being able to use an app on your phone to be able to manipulate and manage the actual video conference. Those things are all things that are coming as well, and they're being released very shortly. And that's all I got. We wanted to, Bob, are you still trying to change the slide? I'm just seeing it spin.
No, I am now.
Okay, cool. That was weird. Did you want to go over the next few
Yeah,
slides?
sure. So thank you, Ken. Again, I'm going to give the opportunity while I'm going through my specific required sort of update. I always joke at the end of these that, each of these sessions are brought to you by a particular Planet offering. I just wanted to, if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. We'll loop back around, or raise your hand even. We'll come back and get you. But, I thought it was particularly pertinent to talk about a couple of things. One is, obviously some of our remote work offers that are available here, since we're talking all about, Teams primarily in this update, as well as a number of other things. So, we have two offers, one for education and one for government and commercial. If you are not, so if you are not on, on Teams, or haven't really rolled it out across your organization yet, I think many have now. Certainly if they hadn't, they had, through sort of the events since March. But if you haven't, we do have the ability to sort of get you operational with minimal guidance, minimal governance, but enough to keep you from getting yourself in trouble, to sort of get things out there quickly. And then we can loop back around and do the full engagement and flesh out all the capabilities. So sort of get you to a minimum viable but safe, effective, secure, with governance Teams rollout that says we're not going to turn everything on, we're not going to enable every capability, but we're going to enable what will drive the capabilities to get things going, so you're not stuck without a viable solution during a time when you may need it. So if you're having any interest in that, feel free to reach out to your account teams. You can send an email to the You Already Own It at Go-Planet that I mentioned before, etc. We do have a couple of minutes here at the end, since we're, you did a fantastic job and there was a lot to cover. But we do have a couple of extra minutes, Ken. If you wanted to take a minute and just talk a little bit about sort of the pending engagement on Teams meetings and workshops. I don't need you to do the whole presentation here, but just to talk a little bit, since we have them on the slides, it might be worthwhile talking. Normally, we don't talk about, sort of engagements at all in these calls, and that's not the purpose. The reason why I think it's worth bringing up is that Microsoft has some funding of programs that apply to most customers on this call, not all. The traditional caveats. I can't promise you that anything Microsoft does will be funded for you and all that goodness. But let's just assume that most people on this call will qualify for these programs. So if you just want to take a high level, quick, minute or so and talk about them, because I think we talked about so much great stuff with Teams, there may be interest here for a Microsoft funded engagement.
Sure. So what we put together here is, for most people, when I say Teams is not one application, I call it the Swiss Army blade of applications, because it's not really one thing. It could be anything, right? I mean, it's how you want to build on it. So Teams as a platform is something that has to be really understood, and have to understand exactly what type of capabilities and what tools are in the toolboxes. So really what these two sessions are, the applications and solutions envisioning, as well as the meetings workshop. Let me start with the meetings workshop first, and go ahead to the next slide if you can, Bob. The meetings workshop is all about, the basic capabilities, or the typical capabilities of Microsoft Teams, and it goes over everything from chatting to video conferencing to all the basic tools and capabilities of Teams. But what we do is we do an envisioning session. We have a survey that has to be filled out before we begin, kind of understand to know what your pain points are, what products, what roadblocks are you having, and then we come up with use case scenarios, and then at the very end we build a plan with you about next steps and how to move forward with that. On the application and solutions, same thing, right? This is like for folks that have already been using Teams for a while but want to take it up to the next level. And we really suggest doing both of these engagements at the same time, because there's always going to be something you're going to learn from it. In both of them, we do an immersion process where we kind of show you all the tools of the capabilities. And it's quite lengthy. It's about 2 hours for the meetings one. But the application solutions, again, it goes all over the same capabilities of, we do an envisioning. We want to know, what are your use cases? What are your lines of businesses that you want to transform? What are your pain points? What is the most redundant thing that you do? And we come up with solutions and do envisioning with that, and then show you the capabilities like the app templates, the the production ready apps that are available that are right off the shelf, and possibly may even require, they could be used right off the shelf, or they could be used with just a slight bit of customization. So we've come up with some packages to get you started on some proof of concepts, to take after the apps and solutions presentations over, or the day-long event. And so take it to the next level. So if you want to deploy one of the app templates, or if you want to deploy an production level app, like the HR bot or something like that, we can do that and help you customize that, and then take it to the next level. And actually, it could be a production pilot and be ready to be used. So, or we can do something over the shoulder, like an app in the day, and work with you on how to build these things. We have a couple different engagements like that as well. Bob, I'm still seeing it spin. I'm not sure if everyone is.
Yeah, it looks like it's on the slide for me. So hopefully you're able to see that. So with that, it doesn't look like we had any more questions that came up in the window. I want to thank everybody for attending this month's call. Remember, next week, I believe it's at 1, but check to make sure. It could be 1:30. I can't remember where we slid that to, but look at your invite. There is a follow-up on the the Azure updates, data, as well as security. Lots of great stuff in that one as well. We've got a number of other speakers that are going to be talking to those. Again, if you have any questions, follow-ups, concerns, please feel free to reach out to the contacts you already know, of course, or if you don't know who to reach out to, just reach out to the You Already Own It at go-planet.com, and the team will be happy to get right back with you. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and shut down recording. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Ken. Great job.